So, hello and welcome to episode 2 of Silverburn Festival TV. This is the second in the series where we're looking at the bands that are going to be playing at Silverburn in 2022. In the studio here with me, I've got Dave Wood from the band Burn the Maps. Dave, you and I have known each other for quite a while.
I'd say so. What did we say, about 35 years?
Reckon
something like that.
35 years because we're 40, even though you're no keen for people to know that you're 40.
Nah, I can't have been a band at 40.
It's
I try and pass for 30 if I can.
You know what? I think it's one of the weird things though. When you're 18, you think, "Oh my God, I'll be way past being in bands by the time I'm 40." But then the reality is that would you know say as well, maybe for Burn the Maps, that now is a better time, a more enjoyable time to gig than when you were 20?
I'd say so. I think the band's changed a lot. It's been going for 11 years. So the first lineup was one thing, and then we kind of changed. I think about 5 years ago, something like that. So it's been two different sides. I guess going back to when I started playing music, I was in a covers band with yourself and some other well-known people, and that was kind of one part. And I went to uni, all that kind of stuff. So I really didn't start being in a band seriously until I was 30. So it's been great since then. So it really just feels like in some ways I'm just getting going, and I have no intention to stop or slow down if I can help it.
That's it. Age really doesn't matter, I think, when it comes to getting out there and gigging. And I think even when you look at big famous bands and you think even think of the likes of Foo Fighters, and you probably didn't ever watch those guys now and think, "Oh my God, those guys are like pushing 60 or 50 or whatever the hang." You know what I mean?
As long as you can still do your thing and pass it off and didn't look ancient up there, then I think you could keep going.
It's not cool. So what I'm kind of liking today, I like an origin story, a bit like your Marvel movies. What was the origin story to Burn the Maps? So obviously I was there, so I kind of ken a bit of it. So if I jump in, I jump in. But I'm trying to get each of the band's beginnings.
I guess to talk about the beginnings of Burn the Maps, you have to talk about Long Time Gone, which was like the where it started, which was me, you, and Ewan
and Bez.
And Bez for a while, although we got a different drummer, I think, eventually.
Aye. So Bez was there. So one of the things that I'll put in here, because it's relevant for Silverburn Festival TV, is that the kind of opening band, or one of the early bands on the Saturday on the main stage, are a band called Got Need,
right? Who
are like, you would say, maybe like Levenmouth's newest band of old guys, and they'll hate me for saying that kind of thing, probably. But so Bez and Ewan, who are in Got Need. I've
seen this, aye.
So Bez and Ewan, who are in Got Need, were in this band Long Time Gone that we were in, and we played
one gig, which was kind of my first gig as well, kind of getting back into the live music scene, and it was Agenda Rocks 2010, I believe. So the first Agenda Rocks down in Leven in Scooney, and that kind of kick-started it. And then for various reasons, Ewan went off, did his own thing. Bez, I think, was working offshore quite a lot, so I knew I had to keep it going and get another band going. So that was the start of the process, I think.
I think that's kind of how I remember it. It wasn't getting there. I think Ewan, maybe, I don't know if he'd had a wee one about that time, maybe, or whatever it was. And whatever it was going to be was supposed to be a completely different band. Like a completely different band. I didn't think it was going to have the covers so much, and it was going to be originals or whatever. And but I remember getting a call. Did I get a call? Or was it? No, that was it. I was out somewhere, and somebody pointed out to me, going, "So yeah, kicked you in at the band," and I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Like, it's Long Time Gone, but with Keir instead of Ewan. And I'm like, no, it's a totally different band. And they're like, "No, it's the same band." Then I was like, "Oh my God, I hope Ewan doesn't think that we kicked him out of the band to bring Keir in." But like, genuinely in my head, it was like an entirely different thing.
With original music in it, and I think I had been kind of writing songs in the background, and a lot of the time just writing them for my own benefit, really. And it just so happened that a couple of them, I might play one of them later, kind of clicked with the band once we got the lineup sorted out, and that was that. And that was kind of the first time I'd really written songs for bands, and that changed my approach. a wee bit, I guess, because then I was writing for a band rather than just for me on an acoustic guitar or whatever.
One of the other things I suppose that kind of changed for you a wee bit, so certainly when me and you were learning to play guitar, I would play the rhythm and you would play the lead.
Oh, that's right.
So when we went into Burn the Maps, Keir was immediately the guy going to be playing lead, and because you'd been writing the songs on guitar at that point in time. So how did you take to that, kind of dropping the lead stuff and letting Keir kind of find space in the stuff you were writing? How did that feel?
I think Keir was already in the band at the point I joined, actually. So you and Keir were like kind of the first members.
Really?
Aye. So Keir was already in to play lead. So I think at that point I was actually quite happy to just kind of stop with the lead guitar and play rhythm, and it let me focus more on singing, I guess.
Aye.
So which was a real eye opener for me, because you can just zone out and play chords, and you really focus on your performance rather than trying to do too many things at once. So.
It's funny how much I've forgotten about back then, like, that's for sure, because I think maybe, was there no an in-betweeny band as well? Was there no something where, there was some way Pud as well? Was there no another band?
That was our first band, Ideal 81.
Right.
And then that was covers band. We tried a few things for a good few years after that. I disappeared to uni, and when I come back we did the open mic sessions.
The open mics.
We met Keir and Pud at that point, and we tried a band with them. We were practicing in the tall bar.
That split into two trees. That was what it was. Or it split two roads altogether, and it was. I can remember a song called Chess and Checkers. It was 13 Thieves. 13 Thieves. Right, and there was 13 Thieves and Burn the Maps, and we both had Keir, and that was So
before 13 Thieves and before Burn the Maps, there was me, you, and Keir and Pud, I guess, kind of practicing, and then it split in two directions.
That's it. Right. And we'd had Long Time Gone before it, I think, and then that was Agenda Rocks, and then, which was kind of the precursor a wee bit to Silverburn, or at least it was what had the guys at Silverburn Park come and ask us to go, oh, do you want to kind of help us out with something, kind of thing, which was cool. Right, so there's a bit of history in how the band started. There's been a few drummers in the band as well, though, between Bez and then many a stand-in earlier on.
So there was Bez, our first drummer. He just had too many commitments offshore, I think. And then we had an awesome drummer called Lisa, who stood in with a pink drum kit in a rock band,
which was amazing.
Which was also amazing, so that kind of got us by quite a few gigs, actually. And then Mike, our drummer before the one we have now, came on board, and he was with us for quite a few years. So
Mike changed things a wee bit and stuff as well.
So you remember more than me.
Well, I do of that time, because that was the time that I was most kind of there. But like Mike was very like Bez in terms of the style, which is why he was an easy fit. But he had these animalistic kind of, you know what I mean? Like there was something. He smashed the drums. He didn't just like play the drums. He smashed them. And do you remember there was one time? One of my main Burn the Maps memories is being at somewhere in Glasgow and just seeing the cymbal fly through the air and hit you in the back of the head. And it's like, that shouldn't be able to happen.
No, I remember that though. Knocked the wind out of me, I think.
It was crazy. I have no idea how that come off, but so that was cool. That was exciting times. And so just to get the line up to how it is now. So I went away and did other stuff, and you brought in Jim.
So you went away and did other stuff. I was just going to say Mike kind of did change the band, because he gave us a kind of power and energy that kind of helped push us to a different sound altogether. And then when you left to do, I can't remember what you were doing, whatever it was.
It was a number of things at once, which I think which is my usual.
I think you were wanting to go and do something different, do your own thing, maybe.
I'd started another band, and I was in two. They were easier. They were easier for.
Let's just leave it at that.
They were easier for me, kind of thing, and it was a good thing for all involved. But so I come away.
And then Jim came on board as the new bassist, and Jim's actually been in the band longer than you were
Than
now.
I was,
So that's how long it's been going for, like 11 years.
It feels like the lineup, and I think it happens with loads of bands, and is that they go through that, you know what I mean? There's a bit of, you know, figuring out the lineup, and even if it runs on for years, sooner or later it settles on something. Does it feel like that? The new that these are like.
Aye, we feel settled now. Aye, that's good. I think there's been obviously a consistent songwriter through the whole thing, so I think that's important, and a consistent singer, obviously. So I think it's okay for the lineup to shift and change a bit, and let the sound of the band grow as well.
Cool. So Silverburn Festival, what like? So speaking of the Catch-22s in the last episode, and they were kind of talking about their memories of Silverburn Festival. Like straight out front, I'm one of the organisers for Silverburn Festival, so I see the whole thing through an entirely different window. Despite the fact I've played in the bands there and stuff, some played on stage a few times at Silverburn as well. I see it differently. Could you tell me your feelings about the festival?
The festival. I remember when you were first. When the organisers and yourself were getting it started, and it just sounded like such a great thing for the area, and we'd never really had a festival like that in Leven with a live original music. I think when we were growing up, it was always like you would always see pub cover bands and things like that. So bringing a big-ish festival to Leven with original bands, different genres, sounded really exciting, and the fact that we were in a band at the time and it was good to be part of it. And it's also just a brilliant location. And I just thought it was such a great idea to have a wee festival in there when I first heard about it.
One of the things Lisa for the Catch-22s was saying, and you maybe feel the same because you grew up in Leven, but the weird thing was you've got all these childhood memories of the park, and when she goes there, they're still kind of there. You ken what I mean?
Definitely, there's a wee bit of nostalgia involved. And it just feels really really good atmosphere, great sound. It's always had a great sound, and just a great total vibe, I guess.
I think that's one of the things actually worth mentioning. I don't know if I've said it on this before, but is that, you know, your sound is quite. You talk about consistency with the band, but we've had consistency with the sound at Silverburn, and it's Stevie Calder from LT Audio, who does the sound for us every year, with different guys that kind of help along, Trav, and there have been other guys involved and stuff as well. But the feedback I get every year for the bands is that, like, sounds amazing. And I think that comes down to kind of Stevie, yeah.
He's just done a Big Country and the Skids gig at the weekend there, I think. So that's the kind of calibre and quality, I guess.
He does that. When I speak to any band, I think Silverburn or elsewhere, they're always like, it always sounds dead professional when Stevie's doing it. And I like to think that that's one of the plus points at Silverburn, is that not only is it a good event and for whatever, but it sounds good as well. You go and the bands sound brilliant, kind of thing.
Starting to attract people from further afield as well, so getting a bit of a reputation, apart from the break you've had obviously for COVID.
The COVID thing's been a bit of a nightmare, but like, you're right, we get hundreds and hundreds in fact multiples of 100. I think something like 280 applications the year before we broke off for sets. I think there's a thing as well, right? So all those applications and you guys play.
That's what I was going to say. So we should count ourselves lucky then that we've been playing quite a few years. So.
But I think what it comes back, number one, and I feel self-conscious about it sometimes, because that's like the nature of like a show booker. You book people and they're like, oh, they only ever put their pals in and stuff like that. But then like without very much kind of thought about it, like it's like, the important thing that you touched on earlier is that it's original music. The local original music is super important. So we do have different bands on every year, and that's sometimes hard to kind of forget, hard to remember kind of thing. But I think the other thing that's important to say is that, like, not only like yous aren't there because yous are the only local band, because Leven, I think, consistently produces really, really good bands. We Cry Wolf are another brilliant local band at the moment, kind of thing. I think Got Need are going to be really, really great, and there are other bands who've got members for Leven that are kind of maybe based elsewhere. But I think, and always an important thing to say to you when I'm sober and not in a pub drunk, but I'm like, I genuinely think that you're a brilliant, brilliant songwriter, and I think you're up there with people who've sold millions of records and stuff like that as well. And I think I think that's one of the things that I feel proud about Silverburn, for you guys being there as much as you can be, than for all the other bands that do get to come on, is that I think that music is of a calibre of just about anything. The difference has maybe been the conditions that they, or the places that these bands have maybe came from, that they've not had quite the same opportunities as maybe bands who live in cities and stuff like that. Have you kind of found that do you feel like maybe your journey, or maybe even just the type of gigs you get, would be different if you were based somewhere other than Levenmouth?
Probably. It's easier to probably pick up gigs when you're in cities, but with Facebook and things, I've started following loads and loads of things, and I just kind of, whenever I see something, I get in touch with somebody when I can. So we are kind of starting to pick up some interesting gigs, but I like playing at home as well. I like playing here, and Silverburn, things like Promfest and things like that as well are also like awesome gigs for us.
They're kind of like a homecoming gig if you've been away somewhere for a wee while.
So I was just going to say as well, the Silverburn is kind of, although we have played it consistently and we're kind of a local band, we wouldn't be there if we weren't obviously good enough to be on the stage, but also I think as long as you can get a mix of local to new people coming in, then that gives you a good kind of ticket base for your festival, and also new things to bring in to let people hear as well. So.
It's really, really important. I think I sometimes feel bad when I'm hounding local bands, but mind and sell your tickets. But there is a genuine element of, because we do tend to, I think we've sold it nearly every year. It's like, if you don't sell your tickets, you will not be able to, like at the last minute, you'll not be able to get your friends and family that you do want to see, and that they want to come and see you as well. Eh? So I'm not just driving the ticket sales with that one, I think, because it is brilliant to be able to play. Certainly for me, when I think of like gigs that I've played at Silverburn, and I think that was the time that my wee gran got to come and see me, because there was no way she was coming to Cab Vol in Edinburgh or something like that kind of thing. Yeah.
That's true. I remember my mum and dad standing just at the entrance to the tent watching me, because they didn't want to come in, it was too loud, but so things like that are good memories, definitely, man, definitely.
Right, cool. So what else are we going to look at today? I think other bands, right? So two streams to this, right? One is who you listening to the new that's kind of modern, you know what I mean, that's kind of either new to you or kind of new to everybody. And the other thing is other bands, maybe bands that you're gigging with, or maybe people who are on the lineup this year or whatever, who's of note. So taking the kind of, I don't know, famous scene and the kind of unsigned scene, if you like.
Well, who am I listening to at the minute? I think, as I mentioned to you earlier, I'm listening to Menzingers, or the Menzingers, and Gaslight Anthem. They're kind of on repeat on my Spotify just now, and are a big kind of, they get me through my work day, and they're also a big kind of influence as well, just from a, maybe not so much from a musical standpoint, but definitely a songwriting, lyric writing kind of point of view, and really kind of emotive, heartfelt, honest lyrics, which kind of resonate with me.
Cool.
Frightened Rabbit as well. They're a constant and definitely a big inspiration. And then for just kind of pure rock and roll, probably Foo Fighters, Biffy Clyro, constant, and loads more. But
Foo's definitely, you would count them as a main influence on Burning Matt, surely. Yeah,
definitely. Big part of our sound. And Kev, our drummer, is a massive Dave Grohl fan as well. So that kind of goes really well. And again, we were talking about our sound and things, and with Kev coming in as well, it's just tightened the whole unit.
Kev's got he's a really, really good kind of technical drummer, but he's got a really, really good ear for what to do in the spaces, and I think that makes a kind of a difference to any band, is those fills that are a bit different kind of thing, and he's got an ear for that.
Definitely. And I'm just like a 4/4 rhythm when I'm writing songs, so, and I just bring the basic song, so I'm glad that there's people in the band that can make it something better, turn it into something bigger. So that's definitely what we've got now, I think.
I think that's it's one of my favourite things to see with Burning Maps, actually, because I've seen you doing acoustic stuff, and I've certainly just in our personal life seen you play loads of like your stuff acoustic, or when you're writing a song, or you've sent demos and stuff like that. And I think that's a cool thing about Burn Them Ups, is that your songs sound great acoustic, and then when it comes to it, when you take them to the band, they go somewhere else as well. And it's not a better and worse thing, but it's almost like a yin and yang thing kind of thing. They're almost two different songs by the end of that, but like, yeah, I think it could be a good thing.
If you go back and hear some of my demos compared to what the finished song is, it's almost unrecognisable sometimes, and I like that process. I like writing the song, and that kind of exists for me, and then but once it goes to the band, it becomes something else, and I just like to let it happen. I don't have any kind of preconceptions of what people should play, or and if then you get that from all four members, and you get something that wouldn't have existed otherwise. You know, it's kind of like a chance event. You know, that song didn't exist before, we brought it into the world, and then all four members have their input, and it kind of becomes ours at that point.
Cool, man, cool. Right, what else do I want to cover in here? Okay, so best gig, worst gig. And I ken this is tough, it's like, oh, you know, what's your favourite band, or kind of thing like that. So maybe it doesn't have to be the absolute best, but a memorable good gig and a memorable bad gig if you've had one.
Bad gigs didn't stick in my mind. I probably just get rid of them. I've had a few, from a personal point of view, I've had a few where maybe my tuning hasn't been quite right, the sound on stage hasn't been quite right, I've forgotten some chords. So they're, for me personally, because I'm such a perfectionist, I would count them as bad gigs where my performance hasn't been up to my own standard. But
you just kind of shirk that off and just write it off. I'm not even going to remember that.
I do now. In the early days, I kind of took it to heart a wee bit, I think.
Right.
But so they're kind of the worst gigs where you're hyped up for it and you want to play well, and then you maybe didn't play as well as you want to, and sometimes that's alcohol related, to be honest.
Yeah.
But so they're the worst gigs for me. But it's all part of the fun of being in a band, really. I think one gig that sticks in my mind is when we went to Wildfire Festival 3 years ago, and that was probably because it was the first time we'd been away as a band for a weekend, for a festival, and it was just a great atmosphere, and it was at a point where we just released what we classed as our first kind of good recorded single, you know, professional quality single out there kind of thing.
And is that what landed you the gig, you think, or?
Definitely, it was the same day we put that video out. We got the offer for the festival, via another connection, I think.
So who produced the song, if you like, and who produced and recorded it, mixed it, all that, and who did the video?
Well, that single, "Stay Awake," that was produced by EFR in Kirkcaldy, and that was Eck Burrow.
Yeah.
Eck Burrow. I think it started a wee bit earlier than that with another studio through in Dunfermline, and then that studio kind of went.
Oh, that was Eggman, and then
Eggman.
EFR.
Kind of changed. Something happened. Eggman changed hands. We took it to EFR, and Eck kindly finished the tune for us, and we put it out, and it sounded great video that we got with it. Even though that was kind of my first band music video, so you can see how awkward I am in it. And I think really having the good recorded song plus the video to go with it helped massively, and it helps get people interested in it and get viewers and things, and having that to be able to send to promoters and things has been great. But Wildfire was one that sticks out because it was the start of a good kind of period of momentum for the band, which was cut short by COVID.
That's a bit of a shame. I've got to say, I remember hearing the track for the first time and seeing the video and thinking, wow, that's going to open doors kind of thing. And it obviously has, which is cool. But I actually remember the first time that I heard you play it, and I think it was in McPhail's in Leven kind of thing, and it must have been, I don't know, one of the first gigs after I'd left the band. There'd been a bit of a gap in time kind of thing or something like that, but it must have been one of the first ones back. And I remember being like, That's so good, man. Kind of like really kind of like, I was like, poof, that's like an upper level track kind of thing. Like, I mean, I love all the other ones, but there was something about that track that was just kind of like, boof. You might disagree, you might not think that's one of your better ones or this or that, but for me, there was something about it. I don't know.
No, it definitely is. I think it's you could write a song and you can write words and it sounds great, but then you can write a song and you can put words in there that really mean something to you in one way or another. I think you could, and that's what kind of makes a difference with a song like that, I think, is when you could tell that that's come from somewhere deeper within the person that's written it. And that's one of the few songs that I can actually get emotional about on stage, especially recently. So.
No, definitely, I do. It sparked, as it sparks an emotional response. Even in like, I mean, now that you're talking about it, I'm going to go back and listen to the lyrics and go and try to deconstruct. But you kind of hate that, eh? You kind of hate talking about lyrics. Am I wrong with that? That you didn't like talking about the lyrics in your songs? You want to just chuck them out there, or?
I used to kind of shirk away from it. I suppose I didn't want to talk about meaning too much, because to me the meaning is just I kind of just write whatever comes out at the time, you know. Whenever I'm playing guitar and I'm singing, words will form and that becomes the song. So there's no real cerebral process to it. It's pure emotion, so those words kind of reflect exactly what I'm feeling or wanting, or is playing on my mind at the time. There's no real kind of structure behind it, or intentional story, or intentional kind of comment on anything. It's just a pure stream of emotion and consciousness, I suppose.
That's cool, I like that. I can't do it. I always, like, I don't know, I feel like I've got to have like an idea and then I try and build on the idea, and it drives me insane. Like, to the point where I'm kind of like, even when I was singing in a band and stuff and I was just starting to feel alright about that kind of thing, I would then start worrying about my lyrics. And I have wrote songs myself where I'm kind of like, that's better because I didn't think about it. And I think you need to switch something off sometimes a wee bit.
If you can get in a place where you have switched that kind of analytical side of your brain off, I think that's good sometimes. Because some days I just write stuff and I think I'll go back and change it later, and then I just leave it because it's like, you know what, that was what I felt at the time. So. And if it doesn't make sense, doesn't matter. It makes sense. It made sense to me at the time.
Right.
So if it doesn't matter if it makes sense to whoever's listening to it. I think Kurt Cobain was a big kind of advocate of that kind of thing. He's just whereas he wrote kind of lines at a time that made sense to him.
Right.
Made up the whole song, and then I could be wrong with it. You might have to fact check that. Just blathering shit about.
I'm going to fact check that. I'm going to put it up to there's total crap.
I'm sure I read it in my. I've got like a book of journals and writings of Kurt Cobain. I'm sure I read something like that, where the whole was just made up of lots of different little kind of things that meant something to him.
Nah, that's cool, and I think that's important. I mean, I might just sound like an old dude, but like old dude talking about young folk and music today, and there's not enough meaning in it, and all that kind of stuff. But I do kind of feel that way about it, and I feel that I don't know, people. I remember wanting to ken everything about what, Kurt Cobain, John Lennon, whoever. I wanted to ken what they were thinking and feeling. I wanted to ken about their life so that I could try and tie it to what they maybe put in their songs. And I think maybe because I recognised stuff in their songs that, like, I recognised going on in my life, or feelings, or kind of sometimes situations and stuff like that as well. So like there was this, I don't know, it was like you've connected to the song and maybe you're looking to connect a wee bit more. And I feel that sometimes the lyrics can be just so thin that you can't connect to it. And I kind of hate that. It can work. I've heard bands who've chucked out lyrics. Maybe Biffy Clyro are one of these bands who chuck out lyrics in songs that are like so disconnected, and they're like, it's almost like it's with bands like Biffy, it's backed up with this musical thing that's so that kind of almost makes it make sense. I reckon if I'm saying what I'm kind of meaning.
Biffy kind of made me realise that it's all right for it not to make sense. just let it go, and just if it doesn't make sense, it doesn't matter, as long as it sounds good and fits with the song, then I think it's alright. I think a song has to be it's kind of like a expression of somebody's existence, you know. And as long as you can make that connection, then I think it's good music.
I'm with you. Right, we need to bring this back to Silverburn or something like that.
That got deep.
We're getting deep, man. We're getting deep. Right, so the future of the band. So we're hitting hopefully almost a post-COVID world, or certainly like, if not a post-COVID world, a post heavy restrictions world kind of thing. It looks like, you know, do I get any vaccines and this, that, and the next thing? Gigs are opening up, stuff is happening, bands are able to book stuff now and stuff like that. So what are you guys like? Are you out there? Are you chasing gigs? Are you writing music? Where are the band at, and where are you pointing now?
We never stopped writing music, which I think was good. When COVID hit, I kind of stopped working because there was no work for what I do there. So, and it was kind of a relief, and it gave me a bit of space, and I did a few demos and things. Some of them we still have to kind of come back to and work up. So that's a good thing about songwriting as well, because some of the songs you're writing now, but it's actually from an idea that happened years ago. Anyway, where was I? So when COVID hit, I kind of just started writing stuff and demoing because I had nothing else really to do at the time. And then as soon as we got the chance and the studios opened up again, we got back to practicing and writing stuff. And we've got a couple of songs in the pipeline just now that were written kind of about lockdown time. Right. That are going to hopefully hit people's ears.
Making in the
this year.
That's cool. So what's the next gig or the next couple of gigs?
Next gig is Hadstock. So it's a multi-venue festival in Haddington. Cool. A place I've never been to the town. I've been there briefly. Right. For a radio thing. But it's a multi-venue festival. Kind of bands all over the pubs. Like buskers outside. Lots of other kind of arty things going on. So it should be like a nice weekend. So we're hopefully going to try and take some people along. Right. So that's our kind of first festival, I guess. Right. This year, and we've got other things lined up. We've got Silverburn, which has been confirmed now. Cool. So we're glad to be playing that because that was touch and go for a while. Silverburn, we're further afield. We're going to the Outer Hebrides. Aye. We've been trying to plan that journey and book our ferries and accommodation and all that kind of thing. So that's all sorted now. Right. So that's happening in the end of June, I think. Can't remember. Is it like the week after Silverburn or something like that? Something like that. Yeah. So that's further afield. So we've been booked for that for 3 years now. So we're really excited to play it. We were supposed to play Party at the Park, which has just been cancelled. Right. So we were gutted about that. Although the lineup had changed kind of drastically and become a different festival altogether. So, that's a bit of a shame. To start with, when we were booked, I think it was going to be like Charlatans Embrace, which was much more our scene, and then they went kind of poppy. Right. After that, so that's been cancelled, and then some local stuff. We've got Promfest, which we're playing. I think we're doing Kennoway Carnival as well. Cool. So as I said earlier, we like doing local gigs and that, and it's always good to get people along to them. And then we're in talks to do some other gigs through in Ayr, I think, and one in Edinburgh as well at Bannerman's. So there's things happening. Busy. But you do have to chase them and keep your eye on them. Definitely. I'm looking forward to kind of getting back to that in some sort of way, shape or form myself. But it's exciting to kind of you guys, you know what I mean. You guys have got that on the diary, if you can what I mean. So, so the stuff is out there. Things are really moving again. It always feels good when you could put a few gigs on your poster. Yeah, you know. Yeah. Some things to look forward to. Right, well, thanks for coming in and playing for us. That's been absolutely awesome. Really looking forward to seeing the band at Silverburn Festival. Really looking forward to seeing everybody at Silverburn Festival, which will be a cool thing. And hopefully we'll get you back for a future episode as well with the rest of the guys, I know. Cool. Cheers, dude. Cheers. Bye. carved by tears and faces weathered by the years, in the same place at the same time and on the same day, stood in the same line, standing with their backs to the sun. The shadows cast from old to young. In this town there is a heart of gold, and in the morning light there is a fleeting hope that shines across the standing stones, shines into the broken homes, and the world goes by, and the world goes by, nothing ever changes. And time, it flows like a river, straight through the heart of it. And this town is stuck in its old ways, and the years go by, and none of these people change. We are the standing stones. They're in the broken homes, and the world goes by, and the world goes by, and nothing ever changes. Nothing changes. There are the standing stones, there in the broken homes, and the world goes by, and the world goes by. And they are standing stones there in the broken homes, and the world goes by, and the world goes by, nothing ever changes. We're still building and burning down love. We're still building and burning